Good morning, everyone. So, I am here with the Indian Express newspaper, and today's date is 4th February 2026. Okay, so let's read all the important news headlines of today's newspaper. So, day after US President Donald Trump announced trade deal tariff cut from 50% to 18%. Okay, so the new change in the percentage of tariff by US government is from 50% to 80%, 18%. Okay, so farmers secure agriculture and dairy interest protected, said by Piyush Goyal. $100 billion imports a year for 5 years. Agri goods, energy, aircraft, parts, and tech from US to India. Says deal better than what India competitors got. USTR exciting opportunity. World is tilting towards India, says PM as NDA hails historic trade pacts. Yumnam Khemchand Singh said to be Manipur's CM. Kuki-Ju Naga MLAs may be DY CMs. Government opposition standoff deepens compromise. Rahul Gandhi targets PM. Chair suspend 8 opposition MPs for rest of session. Bengal self-intensive revision one logical discrepancy category two set of data on notice served. In 10 years, trial courts handed death to over 1300 people, high courts upheld only 70. This is the second page. This is the detailed explanation of the first page, so read it in detail if you want any news in detail. It's about the city and it's mainly about the problems or the development, whatever the things that are going in cities like Delhi and other cities, everything is written here. So if I saw any important news, I will read that. Otherwise, I am going to skip all of them. Hmm. It's about the NCR, Delhi NCR, where lags behind other NCR cities. Minister to Lok Sabha, only 14% NCAP funds so far used by Delhi. This is the utilization of fund. 2.76 lakh ration card beneficiaries sent show cause notice by government. Noida rushes to quick fixes after death of IT engineer. Hmm. Cabinet. What's about the cabinet nod of for free cylinder on Holi and Diwali for eligible ration card holders? Why were IPC provision not invoked in 2021 hate crime case? Supreme Court asked UP. UP driving India's renewable future. Sorry, it's about the parliament. No debate on trade deal. Opposition walks out. They are frustrated, says Nadda, JP Nadda. Silence of opposition is unacceptable to us. This is the words the government is saying. MPs were suspended for unruly behavior. What do you say to that? Shringala, strategic call to balance buying oil from different nation. Opposition slams government. Why announce US trade deal on X is parliament inferior. Sorry, it's about the politics. So, S. Jaishankar, the foreign minister, Rubio to hold a task in Washington, Russia oil $500 billion target, energy security to shape Delhi's response. Want CEC to be impeached, Mamta says will discuss it with opposition parties. Hope India US deal is fair and we have not compromised. How and why Manipur finally moved back to an elected government. Mamta's broadside against self intensive revision through poetic flourish. Assam poll battle takes shape. Polarization, populism, and fractured opposition. CM Himanta Vishwa Sarma popularity gives the BJP an edge in its quest to return to power in Assam for third straight term. About the nation, stop sharing user data or opt out of country. Supreme Court to WhatsApp Meta. 4 in 10 cancer cases among Indians are preventable, said by studies. Top cancer causes 13.4% of cancers are due to infections and 10.5% due to tobacco, 5% smokeless tobacco and area nut consumption. This is the reason of the causes of cancers in India. Arrested after complaint of having served beef by mistake. Oli pub waiter Nashimuddin gets bail, his restaurant and his city behind him. We can recover lost business. 18% tariff bring cheers to leather industry in UP. We now have a fighting chance. Andhra shrimp industry battles sigh of relief. About the nation where court built for Adivasis, justice had no judge twice until Supreme Court noticed. AI Indigo aircraft wings scrap each other at Mumbai airport. Six reminder from Environment Ministry since 2020 Arunachal sits on plantation proposal for Shubhanshree Hydel project. Prachi Mishra, professor of economics at Ashoka University, is guest at Explained. Live today. Center puts really projects in South Kashmir on hold over apple orchards. Cities state requests. About the editorial page, worldly wise in business, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. With tariff cloud lifting, India US can shape balance of power in Asia and world. This is the editorial page and this is about the first topic of tariff and how the cloud lifting India and US can shape balance of power in Asia and world. Convergence of strategic interest and creation of dense architecture of cooperation in the last quarter century was not going to be easily wrecked by personality clashes or even serious differences on any one issue. So the finalization of what? Of the India and US trade deals, we all know, and the turbulence of whole year and how India is facing with that 50% of the tariff. Okay, so the focus of broader agenda, which is outlined by PM Modi and President Trump at their White House meeting on 13 February 2025. So, two leaders had emphasized the importance of quick trade deals and deeper cooperation in defense industrialization. So, what's the critical and emerging technologies and strategic cooperation in Indo-Pacific? So, the new thing and the new trade deal, which is announced by two leaders on social media on Monday, which needs to be formalized, and there are several elements that will need to fleshed out to mutual satisfaction. So, what are the negotiations between them? There are complex negotiations and communications, which imaginative diplomatic work lie ahead in putting the bilateral commercial ties on a high and sustainable growth path. So, the PM Modi displayed resilience, adaptation of tempered by patience in weathering the tariff storm. Okay, so what's the durability of India US partnership owes pay to its deep structural foundation, the emergence of strategic interest. So, the clashes of personality of serious differences on any one issue, and there is a strategic blast of bilateral relationship and which other than trade over the last year. Since Trump commenters in Delhi and Washington had argued that Pakistan and Russia had returned to complicate India US relations. So, Trump favorite Field Marshal Asim Munir appeared to successfully reverse year of White House, which neglect the new Trumpized in Pakistan and concern in Delhi. So, yet neither Pakistan nor Russia could derail the US India partnership. So, the economic gap between India and Pakistan is now too wide. It's बहुत बड़ा हो गया है, ठीक है? जो भी इंडिया और पाकिस्तान के बीच में जो इकोनॉमिक गैप था वो बहुत बड़ा हो गया और उनके बीच में जो स्ट्रेटेजिक पैरिटी था, डिफरेंसेस था बिटवीन द साउथ एशियन ट्विंस, द फैक्टर दैट सर्जियो गौर, the US ambassador to India and concurrently a special envoy to subcontinent and Central Asia. Okay, so Russia too remains important for Delhi, but its weight in the India's strategy has been seen relative decline over decades. Okay, so due to reducing oil purchase from Russia and trade deal, India's tie with Russia will remain relevant, but Delhi has no reason to let it clash with high stakes engagement with US. Okay, so what's truly matter? क्या सही में मैटर कर रहा है? About Washington and Delhi in China. Despite India intermediate G2 global agenda 2 rhetoric, the structural contradict between the US and China remain deep and not easily overcome. The US national security strategy and national defense strategy issued by the Trump administration in the last few weeks make clear that preventing the domination of the Indo-Pacific by any single power is critical American objective, the align closely with India's own quest for a multipolar Asia. So the reality of China's growing power securing a stable Asia will remain cornerstone. So Trump strong emphasis on burden sharing adds another dimension to India-Russia convergence. So what what's the main prospect? इतना सारा डिस्कशन होने के बाद थिंग दैट इज सेड इज दैट द प्रोस्पेक्ट एंड द टॉपिक इज ऑल अबाउट ऑफ रिजोल्यूशन ऑफ ट्रेड डिस्प्यूट, जो भी ट्रेड से जो भी डिस्प्यूट्स हो रहे हैं विथ यूएस रीइंफोर्समेंट। सो यूएस दोबारा से अ लार्जर ट्रुथ, एक बहुत बड़ा ट्रुथ है फॉर इंडिया, दैट इंडिया इकोनॉमिक डिप्लोमेसी, जो कि इंडिया का जो इकोनॉमिक डिप्लोमेसी है वो इंक्रीज कर रहा है और ठीक है टुवर्ड्स वेस्ट आफ्टर डिकेड्स। 10 साल के बाद आज डिफेंसिव ट्रेड पॉलिसी है। इंडियाज प्रायोरिटी इज नाउ स्ट्रेंथनिंग कॉमर्शियल इंटीग्रेशन, और आज दिल्ली का जो प्रायोरिटी है वो है स्ट्रेंथ करना, मजबूत करना कॉमर्शियल इंटीग्रेशन को विथ कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री इकोनॉमीज विथ ऑफ यूएस, जो कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री इकोनॉमी है इंडिया के, जैसे यूएस, यूरोप, एज वेल एज द इंपीरियल कनेक्शन विद एंग्लो सैक्सन नेशन, लाइक जो एंग्लो सैक्सन नेशन है उनके साथ भी एक इंपीरियल कनेक्शन रखना इंडिया को, जैसे ऑस्ट्रेलिया, ब्रिटेन, कनाडा एंड न्यूजीलैंड। सो इट्स रूटेड इन लॉजिक that India's economic prosperity and technological modernization depends on closeries with Western market and capital. With the tariff cloud lifting, India and the US can return to task of advancing a partnership that will shape the balance of power in Asia and the wider world for decades to come. To get back to the agenda, though, Delhi and Washington must quick tie up the many loose ends of the trade deal. सो ये है पूरा, ये जो टैरिफ है जो अचानक से कम हो गया है, जो कि कम किया गया है यूएस गवर्नमेंट के द्वारा, तो ये गुड पार्टनरशिप शो कर रहा है और इंडिया में जो मतलब ये एक अच्छा शेप देगा, बैलेंस करेगा पावर को यूएस एंड इंडिया का, और ये बहुत ही वाइडर हो जाएगा इन द वर्ल्ड फॉर डिकेड्स टू कम. In upcoming decades, the power and the connection between US and India will become much better. So, the main agenda of Delhi and Washington must quick tie up the many loose ends of trade deal. Okay, so due to the tariff of 50%, बहुत सारे trade deals रुक गए थे, but अब ये जो ट्रेड डील्स है वो अब सारे बहुत ही जल्दी क्विकली टाई अप होंगे, और जितने भी रुके हुए ट्रेड डील्स थे या जो ट्रेड डील्स खत्म हो गए थे वो अब इजिली मीटअप होंगे, ठीक है, सारे स्टार्टअप होंगे. सो दिस इज द होल आर्टिकल बाय राजा मंडला बाय सी राजा मोहन. ओके, एंड दिस इज द इम्पोर्टेंट आर्टिकल, आप लोग सभी को ये पढ़नी चाहिए एंड यू हैव टू रीड इट. A deal for integration opens possibilities. Okay. Supreme Court ruling on menstrual hygiene is about dignity. So what's it? So Supreme Court rules about the menstrual hygiene, about right to life, जो कि आर्टिकल 21 में बताता है, और इसके अंदर जो नेसेसरी स्टेप्स सुप्रीम कोर्ट ले रहा है अबाउट द जेंडर इक्वालिटी, ए डायरेक्शन टू बी इम्प्लीमेंटेड विद इन 3 months. फ्री डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, पहला जो स्टेप वो फॉलो कर रहा है, फ्री डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ सैनिटरी पैड, जेंडर सेग्रीगेटेड टॉयलेट एंड सेफ डिस्पोजल फैसिलिटीज इन ऑल गवर्नमेंट एंड प्राइवेट स्कूल्स. ठीक है. एक्नॉलेज that menstruation is not inconvenience to be privately managed, it is deep implication for women's health and education and for equality. Okay, so for millions of girls, especially those from disadvantaged background or those studying in government school, puberty arrives with stigma around menstruation, interrupted schooling and avoidable dropouts. Despite guidelines by international bodies such as WHO as well as Ministry of Education's 2021 the director instructive schools to sensitize teachers and support staffs to dispel nation menstruation blood as dirty or unhygienic. Schools have been sites of reinforcement gender इक्वालिटी. ओके, सो स्कूल्स में हर जगह पे पब्लिक प्लेसेस में हाइजीन, वुमेन हेल्थ के रिलेटेड हाइजीन्स, ये सब मेंटेन करना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। ये सब सुप्रीम कोर्ट के कुछ वाइटल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल लाइन में कुछ वाइटल गाइडलाइंस है inside this article. Okay, moving to the another. Do five people make a village? Asks Licola. It's about the idea page. It's about the world. Paris prosecutor raid ex-office as part of probe into child porn and deepfakes. Okay, it's mainly about the world negotiation between Iran and US. Topic is inside it. I'm not going to read, so I don't know. You have to read. I'm just going to explanation page. Just a sec. Inside this explanation page, there are important topics about environment. To tackle India's waste problem, new rules turn. Just a sec. Okay, so new rules that turn focus to source about the waste management. So, new solid waste management rules came on last month, aimed at overhauling, सुधार करना जो भी गार्बेज मैनेजमेंट है उनके ऊपर, ठीक है। और ये इफेक्ट होंगे अप्रैल 1 से, और रिप्लेस करेंगे 2016 के जो रूल्स है उनको। जो नए रूल्स आया है वो इम्प्लीमेंट होंगे 1 अप्रैल से, ठीक है। यही है। इकोनॉमी के पार्ट में क्या है, इसमें है यूएस फार्म एक्सपोर्ट टू इंडिया सर्ज इवन विथ नो डील, ठीक है। जो यूएस के फार्म एक्सपोर्ट है वो इंडिया से होंगे इवन विथ नो डील। ओके, सो क्या क्या एक्सपोर्ट करेंगे इंडिया। टेबल 1 जो एग्रीकल्चर यूएस इंडिया में एग्रीकल्चर ट्रेड हुआ है $1 मिलियन में, जिसमें इंडिया एक्सपोर्ट किया है, यूएस एक्सपोर्ट किया इंडिया को, ठीक है। यूएस इंपोर्ट करवाया है इंडिया से, और यूएस ट्रेड बैलेंस, ये 3 डेटा है, ठीक है। ये टेबल 2 है 2024 का, जिसमें ट्री नट, एथेनॉल, सोयाबीन और कोकोनट के एक्सपोर्ट इंपोर्ट है। नहीं, ये सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक्सपोर्ट के डेटा है। And it's about same data, table 3 of export to US. It's about seafood, spices, rice, fruits, baked good. This is the data. So includes cereals and pasta, includes sweetener and beverage base. Okay, it's the data released by US Department of Agriculture. So tariff factor lower duties. India farm exports to US rose by 5.1% in January to November 2025, while US export to India grew 34%. US exports to India also increased thanks to some import duty reduction. Okay. Means there is reduction of US duties, import duties. That's why there is increase in the import. Okay. It's about the law where rules on frozen embryo donation now under legal challenge. Embryo donation. Tell me about the embryo. This is the economic page, and I am going to read it in very detailed way or very explanative way. So the first news is about they will have to wait and watch impact on trade deal with US. So sentiment turnaround, removal of deal uncertainty offers upsides. Sentiments plays such a big role in foreign portfolio investment flows at least, and that has changed in the morning today, Tuesday. So to that extent it does help Anuradha Thakur. Investors are actually betting on India Economic Affairs Secretary Anuradha Thakur, the Economic Affairs Secretary, and she's saying about the trade deals with the removal of uncertainty offer upsides with US, India, and US. Okay, and the chief economic advisor V. Anant Nageswaran. I'm just going to tell you about the names. So, about the portfolio investment, FPIs, and the foreign direct investment. So, on concern regarding the capital outflows, the main thing that she said, Anuradha Thakur, when asked about the broader macroeconomic impact on trade deal with US, Thakur said, there are two to three things I will say. One is that it's definitely a positive development. This big uncertainty that has going around has changed their certainty. Did that US tariff impact the numbers hugely? No, we did not see the US India trade suddenly reach a cliff and fall of whatever reasons, whether there was front loading of shipments from India or sectoral exemptions, it has not fallen to that extent that the first part removal of uncertainty is a great development. Thakur told to Indian Express. On the second part, she said about the trade deal, we'll have to not know. Therefore, the impact we will to really see and what will come once Commerce and Industry Minister shares the detail with us, Thakur said. And the last part of that about the market sentiments, where portfolio investment flows at least and that has changed in the morning today, so that to extend it does help suddenly there will be a positive sentiment. We have seen it in the past, we will see it again. Sentiments move very fast and impact, she added. When asked if the general impression on India changes not just in the context of stock market of foreign portfolio investment flows, Thakur said that impression has changed over time, but it was not that it was negative impression, which is reflected in the continuing robustness in foreign direct investment flows in India, even as FPI flows have been volatile. When I talk to businesses, I realize whether it is big deal or 50 small deal, they are putting their hard-earned money, the investors, and mm, it actually betting our country. So she says that the impression of India, of course, has changed over time, as we can see, but it is not that it was negative impression. Nobody could perhaps put in their money. We have a big market, and now we are also a home for talent. Something in it for them, she said. So it's all about the announcements and the duties set by the Anuradha Thakur, the Economic Affairs Secretary. Moving to another. Rupee interest rates to GDP growth, US trade agreement, and India's economic outlook. Refusion not yet crystal clear. Market showed 2.5% on US deal. FPI poured to rupees 5.2 thousand crore. So this is all about. Thank you for watching. Okay, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.